So our next exercise with increasing the deficit is going to be a rhythm snatch. One of the beautiful things about a rhythm snatch is this timing of an oscillation. If you ever watch weightlifting, you find that they're really good at timing the oscillation of the bar. We see this quite a bit when we do any bamboo or a earthquake type bar. That bar starts to oscillate and move as you start to move up and down. That momentum is going in some direction, and you have to react to that momentum. If you want to go in the opposite direction, you have to violently create force to push in the opposite direction. So one of the things about a rhythm snatch is that bar starts to move and fluids start to move within the joints, and we start to create some momentum, maybe in the direction that we want to go, or maybe in the opposite direction. You have to create a violent reaction to that. And the cool thing about a rhythm snatch is you see people get more comfortable. And it's like doing extensive plyo or a elongated plyometric series where we think about rhythm and timing and trying to be quick off the ground. Like when we see that gooey ankle hitting the ground, you see absorption, we want to be able to shock the ground. Same concept here when we're doing some sort of rhythm work with a barbell. It's a good variation to push in that direction for increasing the deficit. So on a hang rhythm snatch, I like to stay right above this knee, moving that bar in a way that gets some timing into that first snatch. And one of the things you'll find is a lot of the athletes you work with have a really hard time of transitioning into that full snatch. And that's the thing that we're trying to figure out, right? It's that athleticism, it's that timing, it's to be able to leverage that stretch shortening cycle to get from the most from our movements. And the thing that we're starting to really kind of get to with all this stuff is that it has to translate into the real world, the dynamic environments our athletes are going through. It's not always going to be this 3 reps. And here's the other big part. As you start to look at increasing the deficit, it's going to detract and move away from this pre-existing norms. Just like we talked about with extended eccentrics, it's not a matter how much weight you can lift, it's a matter how much weight you can lift with that 5, 6, 7, 8 second eccentric. Here's the same concept. Can you do 2, 3, 4 rhythm work or mini RDLs into one hang power snatch? Yes or no? And that determines the weight you use. And we're going to see that quite a bit with a lot of these methods, right? As we start to look at trying to get more weight on the bar, it's relatively speaking to this new angle that we're working, or this new part of that movement. And you'll see grip being taxed, you'll see low back getting taxed, you see hamstrings getting taxed, you'll see a lot of different effects. You'll see timing and rhythm start to come out, and their ability to stay timed and rhythm within that movement predicates their success with it. So as you start to build in what weight to use, you don't know, probably till you start doing it. You'll see some athletes have a really high affinity for it, and they can do really well with that. Wow, I'm really timing into these motor units and these stretch shortening cycles that I really now feel comfortable with. And that's the thing, as we start to build out this narrative of increasing and decreasing deficit, it pulls you from this pre-existing norm of what's good or bad. It's all relatively speaking, we're removing the needle of increasing or decreasing the deficit. So the next movement that we have is that rhythm hang snatch. And thinking about, just like with extended eccentrics, it's going into this dynamic of what is good is bad, is relatively speaking to that movement itself.